let's do some simple programs with the math library in Python. So in Python and other programming languages, there's always the basics. You always have something like the ability to assign variables. You can do if statements and stuff like that. And basic arithmetic, so, add, subtract, multiply, divide. But built into the language itself, the core language, it doesn't usually have things like pi or square roots or exponents. But there are libraries. I did not spell that right. So libraries in programming refer to code that has been written by someone else, generally for other people's use. So for example, somebody or some people have written the math library of Python, and most other programming languages will have some sort of math library as well that'll have pi, trig functions, other things like that. So we don't have to re-implement it. If we had what is 2 to the third, we know we could calculate that with 2 times 2 times 2, but we don't have to implement that from scratch. Somebody else has done it for us. So for instance, I can look up math.pow. That gives us the ability to do an exponent, x raised to the power y. There's square root. There's math.pi in case you wanted something a little more precise than just 3.14. And so on. So we're going to use a few of these. So first, I'm going to ask the user, what is the radius of a circle? Like some circle. Just give me a circle. What is the radius of your circle? So if you don't remember, which I usually don't, let's look up area of a circle. And we just have this right here. Area is pi times the radius squared. So we can use this for we can use the math operator for pi and the math operator for pow to do this. We could also look up the circumference, which is just like the perimeter of the circle, is 2 times pi times r. And again, diameter is going to be 2 times the radius. So we can just do all sorts of circle calculations here. Circle calculating program. Empty string. So the user will enter whatever the radius of their circle is. Maybe they're doing some math homework and they need to check their work. So first, let's just calculate the diameter. We don't really need anything special for this. Diameter is just equal to 2 times the radius. So we can calculate that and then print out diameter is, and whatever the diameter is. So if I ran this, let's say our radius is 10, then, oh, that's not right. Well, this is another error that I made in my previous one as well, but testing early and often helps you catch these. So the diameter is not 10 times 10. We're going to have to cast this to an integer or a float in order to be able to do the proper math on this. So let's try that again. We have a radius of 10, and so then we should have a diameter of 20. So it's always good to implement like 1 or 2 features at a time and then test. Make sure your program runs, make sure it builds, all of that. So that's the first step. This is calculate diameter. Okay, then let's calculate circumference. So the circumference is pi times the diameter. So to get pi, we could technically do this. But if we wanted it to be more accurate, we could use the built-in pi from Python's math library. So now, import the math library. There are 2 ways we can do this. I tend to prefer to just say import math. If I do that, then down here, I'll need to do math.py. If we look at this, it just matches this here, math.py. Run it. I give it 10. Oh, I didn't output it. That could possibly help. circumference is, let's try that again, 10. So we have this. It did the pi math for us. You might also see the library being imported this way. From math, import star. This star is a wildcard. It just means everything. You'll see it in different contexts, just working with computers or programming, but it generally will mean everything, except down here where it means multiplication. So here, it won't like that I put math.pi. It's going to complain. It's like, what is math.pi? Math is not defined. But we imported the math library. Well, if we import it this way, we actually just say pi. Oh, come on, just stop and restart. There. So if we do it this way, we can just use pi. If we do import math, then we have to use math.pi. It's kind of a stylistic preference, whichever you prefer. I just happen to like it this way, so that's what I'm going to do. So in the rest of this program, anytime I'm using math.pi, you can remove the math dot if you're doing it this way and continue along. So that was the circumference. Now let's calculate the area. So the area of a circle is going to be pi times the radius squared. So we can do area is equal to math.pi times, now the radius squared, we can't just do radius like that. That doesn't work. That's not a valid operation here. What we need is the math.pow function. So pow for power. It takes two inputs, x and y. X will be the base, like the radius. Y will be the exponent, like 2. And so we can write that in here. Math.pow, radius to the second power. So now we have pi r squared. Okay, and then let's print that to the screen. Okay, run 10. So we have an area 314, yada yada yada. Run it again, maybe we just have 2, now we have a smaller radius. And it gives us all this information about our circle. So that's just some examples of using the math library. If you're in a trig class, you could use it to calculate some of your trig homework. It has inverse sine, or the arctangent of sine and cosine and all of that. It also just has sine and cosine and tangent. If you needed to convert from degrees and radians, again, that's trigonometry if you're in that stuff. But otherwise, the other one that I tend to use the most would be square root, math.square root. So if you remember, the square root sign just looks like something. Well, here's an example. The square root of 9 is 3, so if you had to use that, you could use math.sqrt, and you put in 9 here, and it would return 3. Why would you need a square root? Well, if you ever need the distance formula in a program, it is the square root of x2 minus x1 altogether squared plus y2 minus y1 altogether squared. So that might be something that comes up. I actually use the distance formula quite a bit because I program games, so I need to know the distance from different characters in my games. But otherwise, it might come up in homework or something. So that's just that. Here, I'll just do this really quick. The square root of 4 is math.square root 4. You can run that. It's not related to our circle, but it will give us that information anyway. So hopefully that was pretty helpful in just kind of illustrating how the math library works. I'm going to put this up on my my example repository of Python stuff. So let me do that really quick. Math example. And if you want to get to it, we have, well, now I gotta go find where my repository is. It's somewhere. Maybe it's with my YouTube stuff. It's over here. Alright, so it's over here. I will put the link to this in the description. You just go into variables and math library, and it shows this program. You can click on this to download it, and otherwise any other source code I end up writing will just be in here. So, thanks for watching. Hopefully that helped. Bye!